Welcome to US Stories. I'm your host, Lihong Hicken. I've spent my career obsessed about how we understand what users actually think. When Chris and I helped scale user testing from zero to IPO, I thought we had it figured out. But AI has changed everything. The speed of building is now 10 times faster than the speed of listening. So Chris and I built FaceSet. We want to use Vibe user testing to match the speed of Vibe coding. I'm here to talk to visionary leaders who want to deliver great experiences to their customers. What is the biggest difference in the vibe of a user booking a $500 flight versus a user considering a 50,000 piece of a fine art?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. It's funny, there's still overlap in the same problems, user problems, which is kind of exciting. I'll say I've been in the travel space for a while in my product career, most of my product career, and the problems to solve were always about comparison and pricing and always about trust building. And so that's what makes it interesting. I'll say the stakes are higher in a
Yes.
$50,000 art piece because the information that a consumer is looking for and those trust factors are different than a commodity like a flight, as an example. And so the trust factors that need to happen are very different. Pulling out what are the airline stats? Are they always on time or are they not on time? And
Yeah.
so being able to pull out the scalable stats are
Yes.
really important for, a commodity based item versus a unique piece or a more individualized piece is really like, what is the personal touch or the personal connection? Yeah, no, it's very interesting. User behavior, it's funny enough with a cruise, user behavior is pretty similar. A person may visit that art piece on the site multiple times, but make a move. And a move could be anything. A move can be an engagement like, favoriting it and saving it to like their collection of saved items that they want to come back to. And art is similar. And so there's multiple times that people are kind of coming on and off. Again, the pattern of purchase for art may be more back and forth with a seller and talking to somebody versus, comparing via other sites and going on and off. But the timeline of multiple times visiting is similar. I'll take you back to the TripAdvisor days because I think it's a really funny one where, I was a product manager at the time at TripAdvisor and we were working on it was right when and the timing of this was when everybody was using Google Flights. Like, it was the best product out there by far. The ease of their filters and just everything. It was fast, it was zippy, the whole experience was just fantastic. To note, I still really like it. But I wanted to redesign an entire page of search results. I wanted to jump to the end, which at times can be beneficial as a product manager in your A/B testing, and at times it is not the best possible route to take because you can't learn and iterate. And I wanted to just rip off the filters and how people were using them and exposing them. And we went from a left rail of filters that were really, slow, but also exposed a lot of information, so to speak, to moving it to top pills, just like Google Flights, where the filters were on the top of the page. It was very condensed and there were just little pills and you just selected. And I was so confident in this. I didn't put it in front of users. I put engineers to work. They spent a ton of time redesigning the page and I put it in an A/B test and it totally crashed and burned. And then, you know, my boss at the time was like, "You spent so much time on this. What are you doing? You wasted a ton of engineering time. You didn't talk to users. You were so confident. And the results, what are you going to do with your iteration now?" And frankly, then we took the design to customers, our customers. And what we found was that our customers are for cruise are older demographic, but cruise is a very different product from flights. Flights can be, people book flights, they comparison shop, they want to go fast, they can quickly look. Where cruise requires a lot more information in a consideration. And so you
Right.
need all those filters. You need to know, if you wanted to depart from Miami versus Fort Lauderdale, we took that
Yeah.
filter away because we wanted to make it as clean and frictionless as possible was the hypothesis. But turns out people want when they were shopping for cruise at the time, by the way, it may have changed now, but people wanted all of the potential options that they could filter down to see the best possible results versus that clean and simple, couple of choices in terms of filtering. Everybody is different. And so we need to service in a personalized experience. And to me, personalization is key. I also think that, especially in a world of, high price point items, you need to be able to accommodate any sort of user and any sort of user behavior. And so, in the example of the filtering that I just mentioned for travel, some people may want zippy filters and quick results and be able to comparison shop right there. Some people may want to be able to go directly to exactly what they want and they don't want options. And that's how they shop. They may have a long tailed search. They may have a natural language search. They may have an image search via AI. People are doing fantastic right now. And so, like, I think and using agents, everybody is different. And I think, especially in an e-commerce world, we need to deliver on what people want. And that may mean a lot of different things. We have people, in a younger generation that want to speak directly to an AI agent and deliver, I want this, that, and the other thing. And then that agent spits out exactly their results.
Yeah,
But
totally.
like me in the middle ground that saw a shirt in a store or on a person, took a screenshot and is like, find me an exact match to this blue blouse. And I think ultimately everybody is sort of different now and we need to cater to that. And I'll say, if you deliver the right solution for that segment will deliver for you
Yeah.
in performance. And so, you can launch an image matching search and it may have really low usage, but the group that is using it is of high value, highly engaged, and will deliver conversion, I think. And so I think that's really ultimately where we're headed.
Healthcare is, especially within the United States, one of the most broken things I could think of that needs the most fixing that you could ever
Mm.
want to tackle in a career. I think I'm pushing 8 years now at Qgenda, 4 of which has been in a director role, as you mentioned. Prior to that, there was a health insurance, smaller scale outfit that I helped with for 2 years prior to that. Just always kind of been around these spaces and worked around people in just other walks of life. And just, you always hear from a nurse or a physician or even those going through residency programs, everything's a struggle for them. Every piece of software they
Mhm.
touch, systems that don't talk to them and how they don't work for them as a user. So there's much to do. That's usually what it comes down to.
I understand, like, in terms of doing usability testing or feedback in healthcare, it's tremendously difficult. Actually, before talking to you, I'm talking to someone who's doing research for healthcare. It's like HIPAA.
And then the multiple personas, the profiles that they kind of switch hats between. The charge nurse is a great example. That person may be, air traffic control for probably the most chaotic spot in a building. They're constantly switching out between an admin function and they themselves as an end user. And they have to kind of voluntarily lower their permissions to do the things that they should be at that point in time. So it's complex.
So what can be done? There's so many guardrail there. Like, as head of research, like, your hands are tied. So what can you do then?
You talk to as many people as you can and you try to openly listen to where they're having problems. You empathize is really what it comes down to. So we've got internally within our organization, CX, customer experience, is the largest headcount that we have by department. Those are the ones who have that firsthand relationship with every one of these customers. So
Mm,
in the major Atlanta metro market that we have, multiple hospital groups use us. So
mm,
before I want to reach out to anybody, I start with them. Hey, how's our relationship going with these guys? They're not in the sales pipeline. We're not trying to sell them more things. It's
mm,
what's the customer health? Where are they sensitive to things that I need to stay away from if I have an inquiry about something? Then who should be our liaison or our champion over in that space? I may not get the answers from them directly, but they know who can and cannot be bothered, I guess, for
mm,
some usability questions, has that extra bandwidth. That charge nurse in the ER I mentioned, probably the not best first choice of a person. She's probably overtaxed, but there may be 2 or 3 other people that are kind of shadowing into that position. There's some overlap. There's other people that know the steps in the day to day, and they maybe have the additional bandwidth. So it's just a lot of getting to the right point in the right time. You do it usually through just actively listening, letting them
mm.
let all the air out. What's the problem? What's going on? How can I fix it? Don't promise a solution that may be in the hands of the product owners and the capacity of their development teams. I can't necessarily fix it right away, but to be able to be heard is usually what most of these folks, they just want somebody to help them with them before I go on site. They're taking a look at the piece that we have slotted for development in the next couple of sprints. It's a prototype that lives in Figma, so they know what's going on. And it's so well timed out because the feedback we got from that CX organization says, hey, I need this. They're complaining. They're being heard. And what they don't know yet is it's already in planned development. So we get to show them a prototype. They feel it's almost magical to them. Oh, hey, not only did they listen, they already got it planned. It'll be done in the next, 60 days. So
That's awesome. They need to do rightfully. They have consolidated the job of if engineer, backend engineer, the UX designer, a product leader, the four roll into one job title, and it's called the builders, right? And I'm
it's a lot.
thinking, okay,
It's too many hats for anybody to wear. I think is really what it comes down to. I always feel bad for engineers that get called full stack engineers. Like they
yes,
have
it's
to
full
wear
stack.
all the hats. And that's where most of our dev team gets hired on. And I mean, no disparaging comments to them. No one can do
Yes.
everything well. That's not the nature of human beings.
I'm just
Yeah.
thinking like if the US designer has absorbed the ex researcher role in most organizations, I think right now in your organization haven't because it requires a lot of men interviewing people, a little bit. But in the future, I think coding is not the skill that's with AI does a lot of coding, but I think the usability testing, understanding the human, the design is not that easily replaceable. What is it stopping the US designer to continue peeking over the coding side? I have a prediction. I think the US
Oh, they're
designer,
merging. They're totally
they're
merging.
merging. I think the future of the product builder will be this designer taking off the research work and then continue taking over the coding. And so I think what I'm finding is like the vibe coders who are not getting feedback. A lot of vibe coders feel like they think usability testing is to protect engineering time. And now engineering time doesn't need to be protected, that they think product usage data is a new usability testing. Those people, I think, will be replaced because you're delivering bad experiences to the customers.
Well,
and
you can
that,
very quickly build the wrong thing now, is what it comes to.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's what you and I are in the same page, is that you're building the wrong thing for
But
the wrong
sometimes that
people.
can be advantageous as well. If I can hurry up and build the wrong thing 3 times before it would have taken to validate with a prototype one thing right, you may have discovered 2 other things on the way there. So do you have a tolerance for A/B testing? There's the scheduling kind of core that we have, and one within the past couple of years is Prudential, that making certain your doctor's the right doctor you want. And what we found in the early days of the credentialing side, as we stood that up, they were one of our first customers in this space in the Northeast. They were very happy, very warm and receptive. And the team of folks we were helping, they were, nobody had ever really kind of catered to them and done usability work to this. One of the best experiences I've had in years. And then when we came to do the same customer later for scheduling as a full rollout for the rest of the enterprise, we all came in very assuming we'd get that same warm reception. And it came in very cold and a very hard landing. Even within that same customer base, as a little bit of divergence into one side of the house versus the other, we faced union rules and regulations and stuff we hadn't even heard about, limitations. And it was never go in assuming that the last time was all warm and fuzzy, that you will have a repeat, even in a slightly neighbor under the same roof organization. We didn't lose anything, but it was jarring. There was a lot of side conversations and Slack going while we had the call going, like, oh no, this is more interesting than it should be. But it's everything can be salvaged if you just kind of keep the game face on and keep rolling with it.
Cool. That's great. You never assume anything. So another question, what is a rapid fire question? Like, what is your usability testing toolkit today besides like your human manual interviews?
I mean, sure. Getting out of the office is always great. I always highly recommend that. Maze is something we have licensed right now. Very nice for doing those integrated Figma testings. Pendo has become much bigger player in our wheelhouse recently. Honestly, there's nothing wrong with a really quick Google form, surveys from there, just very fast in order to get very light touch points. Sometimes that is still
Pretty
the best
good.
way. And a lot of
Cool.
in-house polling with, getting close to 1,000 employees at this point, kind of quick snap judgments on these things that don't need so much polish as like what Maze would have.
That's awesome. And for those who are listening, if you are ready to start Vibe user testing at the speed of you code, visit us at theysaid.io. I'm Lihong Hicken, and this is US Stories.